Welcome to part one of my new series based off of my master's thesis, The Dogs of Ancient Egypt. The beginning of this series will cover a variety of topics that I had to do research about, including the differences of Egyptian canines, the breeds of dog that were found in Egyptian depictions, and even some dog names. So first, let's start with history of the dog in the ancient world. Quick disclaimer, I am not a biologist, nor am I up to date on any of the recent research on the domestication of dogs in early history, so feel free to comment if there are any inconsistencies or recent research that I miss. So humans likely bred the domesticated dog from tamed wolves around 11 to 16,000 years ago. This was probably somewhere in Asia or the Near East, and they eventually migrated over to Egypt close to 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. The earliest example we have of domesticated dogs in Egypt comes from a Nile Valley site during the Neolithic period. This site is called Merimbe Beni Salama, and it is in the delta of Egypt, and the dog remains were found with various other domesticated animals, and they date to 4500 BCE. Domesticated dogs were portrayed in Egyptian art in a variety of mediums, including relief carvings like this one, figurines like this one, very elaborate guild work. This is the belt of Tutankhamun. You can see the dog standing underneath the horses. And they've even been discussed in a couple of ancient Egyptian texts. There hasn't been a whole lot of scholarly writing that specifically focuses just on dogs in ancient Egypt. Usually they just get lumped together with anthologies about all the different types of animals that were located in Egypt, and they don't get talked about much, especially in their role in Egyptian society. Mainly, the word that just gets thrown around is that they were pets. And while I definitely think that they were loved by the ancient Egyptians, the more and more I went into my research, the more I was like, you can't just put that label on every dog that was in Egypt. These dogs were probably working dogs and meant they had this duality to them where they could have been a loved domesticated animal, but they also had to work and they had a specific role to fill in Egyptian society. So since nobody else was writing about the actual depictions of dogs in ancient Egypt, I guess I just had to do it. And to be honest, I am a dog person, so this might have just been a way for me to prove that the ancient Egyptians loved dogs more than they loved cats. And if you don't believe me, just wait for the rest of this series. So get ready for part two, where I'm going to talk about the other species in ancient Egyptian art that are often confused with ancient Egyptian dogs.